Hey you guys, insight number 3. So we're in Matthew 13, and this is part 2 of that, verses 10 to 47. It's just easier to call it that way. But this is, are you wheat or are you tares? And really, what is the difference? And why does that matter? Let's have a look at that. So the actual parable is in verses 24 to 30, but the answers to what each of these things are, and he usually doesn't do this. He only does this for the 2 parables. The first one that he gives, what we talked about, the sower, that's more fun. There's before this like some little sort of hints at parables, but they're not counted as true parables. Anyway, but they still are like that type of teaching, but this is actual parables. Anyway, so and then in verse 37 through 43 is the answers to this particular parable. So in Matthew 13, you get the parable of the sower, the parable of the wheat and the tares, and about 6 other parables, I think, 5 or 6 other parables about the kingdom of heaven is like, which we're going to look at in the next insight number 4. So if you missed any of those, go search them out. I'll be wearing my tree top because it's all about growth and a lot of things to do with seeds and growing. So I thought, well, that fits. But anyway, I'm being very abstract there, I can tell. But anyway, he does give the answers to these 2 because they are so very important. So really do focus on studying these 2 this week. Very, very good parables and easy to understand, and really gives you like a stop and check yourself moment. One of those what do they call them? Like when you go for a full physical health check. So here's a good spiritual health check for you. So he talks about here, are you wheat? So he says in the parable itself, there's another parable he put forth saying the kingdom of heaven, so we're starting off here, the kingdom of heaven is like. And then it says again, the kingdom of heaven is like. Another parable he put forth unto them saying, the kingdom of heaven is like. So you'll get used to that phrase this week. But it's like a man which sowed seed in his field, good seed. But while he slept, his enemies came in and they threw in seed of tares. Now tares is a noxious weed. It just does nothing. It's worth nothing. It's a tall grass that looks exactly like wheat until it matures. So when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So the servants of the household came to him and said, Sir, didn't you put in good seed? I thought you put in all wheat here. How come it's got tares in it? And he said unto them, an enemy's done this. The servants said unto him, well, do you want us to just clear the field and start again? And he said, no. Let the tares grow, and we'll root them up, we'll take them up with the wheat also. And then in 30 he says, let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. So Christ waits until the end of the harvest before he's giving judgment, allowing for growth in all of us. Now some people do confuse this with the workers in the field, some are taken and some are left behind. Those are 2 different things. So this is where he takes out the bad and remains the good. Now that will happen at judgment, not while we're here on earth. So let's have a look at why of that. Because then he gives all the answers there in 37. He says the good seed is the Son of Man. So again, this is Jesus being sown in people's hearts. And the field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom. That's us. And the tares are the children of the wicked one, so the followers of Satan. And the enemy that sowed them is Satan, and the harvest and the end of the world is the end of the world, so in Judgment Day, right? And the reapers are the angels. Those are the workers. So the angels are going to know which ones. But they had that question, well, should we just clear them all out, because the wheat will be saved? And it's like, no, we need to let the chance to grow. We need to let everyone have that chance and opportunity to decide whether they're going to be wheat or whether they want to be tares. So it says, as the tares are gathered, this is verse 40, burned in the fire, so shall it be the end of the world. So the Son of Man shall send out his angels, shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, and shall cast them into a furnace of fire, and there shall be a wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. So again he has that warning. Those who can hear this, those who have spiritual ears turned on and hear this, make sure you pay heed to it. So, are you wheat or are you tares? So the other parable that Jesus gives us the answers to is this one, the parable of the sower. and this one are so important, he assures both are well understood. There's no ambiguity on the answers. This is what they are. He tells us this is what I'm talking about here. So this is about us determining our growth and Christ knowing it will be different for all of us. He waits until the end of growing or harvest time to then determine and see the tares. So giving all the, because you just don't know. Note that all are harvested. Everyone gets harvested, but they have different outcomes. So no one gets left behind, but which outcome do you want? So are you growing to be beautiful golden wheat? Or are you just going about being a noxious weed and hurting everybody else? Think about that. Now, the quote from this week isn't a quote for this week. I didn't do a quote. I'm just putting up a visual of wheat and tears, and I don't have a visual of wheat and tears because it's not that season here. We're coming into autumn, so no, didn't have that. I was hoping to get some wheat, and I'm like, couldn't find any anywhere. And a picture is kind of pointless because you can see a picture on the internet. So, putting up the visual of that, you'll see that. You'll be able to see that in the feed. Or if you're looking at this on YouTube, on Facebook or Instagram, you'll be able to see the picture. But basically, wheat and tears appear identical until they mature. But here's the difference, and this is how you tell. They honestly do. I have seen them. They look exactly the same. You could not tell the difference. Even an educated person, unless you were like some sort of microbiologist, knew exactly some, sort of farming expert, you would know. And that in this instance, in this parable, is Christ. Others aren't going to know. We're not going to know. The wheat, while it's among tares, is not really going to know until they are fully matured. So wheat and tares appear identical until they mature. So mature wheat will bow its head. So once it gets to a certain height, when it's mature, it'll bow its head like that. And you see that in pictures, it's got this nice goldeny, it just looks so beautiful. It's a very beautiful grain actually, and growing. It bows its head. So it's led by the Spirit. It's humble. Tares don't. They stay tall and still. So they have the same looking seed like pod thing come off them and the same colour, but they are straight up. They are proud and stubborn. And they're going to have a different outcome. So, are you wheat? And what else can you learn from this? This tells us a lot actually. And the explanation Christ gives is amazing. To really have a deep dive in that with your family or by yourself would be great. See what they think. See what they can come up with. What insights they bring to it. It's a really beautiful parable. It is one that is very well explained for that reason. Same as the parable of the sower. Very well explained for the reason that Christ really wants us to know these two. If we miss all the other ones out and only have time for two this entire year, what can we learn from these two? Because they are so important to Christ. Not only did he teach us, he told us what he was teaching very clearly. So, if you're missing the understanding in this, maybe go back to looking if you have eyes to see and ears to hear, and maybe look at embracing the Spirit a bit more so that you do. And whether you're getting a picture book understanding of this and going, I like that one point, or whether you're seeing a whole lot more in there, then maybe you're ready to start into a textbook learning. We don't know. You'll know. But either one's fine. But learn. Learn these two parables. They're really, really good. They apply to a lot of situations and will help you in everyday life to not only grow, but to determine, if you're wheat, if you're a good soil. These are things we all know about. They're very clear to everybody. We all know what soil looks like. We all know what wheat looks like. Are we being those things? Are we endeavouring to make those changes and to grow in that way? So very, very good. All right. Hang around. We're going to talk about the rest of the parables that are in Matthew 13 and the kingdom of heaven and what it looks like. All right. I'll see you there.